Welcome, Jason Williams. I'm so excited. Dr. Harrison, this is
Not
our first episode of Unaddiction, the podcast. So, Jason, I don't know if you know, I have a book that's coming out, Unaddiction, 6 mind-changing conversations that could save a life. It's coming out January 9th, available for pre-sale now. And we're doing this podcast to raise awareness of the book. And the purpose of the book is to raise awareness of the conversations we need to be having if we really want to turn around this addiction epidemic. So I am so honored and grateful that you're coming on the podcast to share your story with us. So thank you.
well, thanks for having me, Dr. Harris. I love that, Dr. Harrison. So I love that you're going to be having this new book out. I can't wait to read it. Um, I've been keeping up with you since you said I was going to do this interview.
Really?
So I've been doing
Uh-huh.
some homework and some research, and let me tell you, it's people like yourself who help us fight this cunning disease, this disease that I have that tells me I don't have a disease.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading up on you and you were talking about how relationships help us so much in getting to the core reasons of why we have an addiction. And that you call all of your patients, in quotation marks, members. Here at
That's
Rebound,
right.
at our center,
Community members.
community members, and we call
Uh-huh.
ourselves teammates because I'm in
I
it with
love
them,
it.
you
That's
know?
right.
And the number one thing that we try to do besides, let's just say the second highest thing we try to do is number one, we try to get them better. And I should say we try to get their family to understand about their addiction. And the third thing, if it's possible, because we get a lot of high profile people that come down to Rebound, is to release the stigma. And I know you're big on that,
Yes.
on releasing the stigma. And I know that's going to be in your new book, Dr. Harrison.
That's exactly right. So we made up this word for the title, unaddiction. The title of this podcast, the title of the book, and it's really about unlearning what we think we know about addiction, undoing the stigma that is killing people, and uncovering the conversations that we need to have. And so you put your finger on the second point, which is undoing the stigma. So I'm going to ask you, Jason, I'm going to ask everybody on this podcast at the end of the episode. So this is like cheat sheet for the final exam, okay? It's only
Okay.
got one question. It is, if there is one thing you want people to unlearn, or one piece of stigma that you want to undo, or one conversation that you want to uncover and teach people how to have, what is it? That's for the end of the show, okay?
Okay. You got it.
That's for the end. So coming in now, tell me all about Rebound. And this is how I want you to tell me about it. People really underestimate how much our childhood and upbringing impacts our health as adults. And I'm talking specifically about adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, ACE. There was this study done a long time ago, and there are 10 questions. And if you answer yes, you get 1 point. And a score of 4 or more really predicts a increased risk of depression, anxiety, addiction, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, smoking, like all the chronic illnesses, you name it. And so it's like your childhood really does matter. But there's an antidote to that called the pieces, positive childhood experiences. And one of the things we talk about in the book is, as adults, we can't go back and change our childhood, but we can change our adulthood. And so if you look at the positive experiences, it's an ability to talk to your family about your feelings. It's feeling supported. It's participating in community traditions. It's a sense of belonging. It's being supported by friends. It's having 2 non-parent adults who genuinely care about you. That's about childhood. Rebound is doing this for people in adulthood. And so can
That's
you
right.
talk to me about what Rebound is doing for people? Because a score of 4 out of 7 on these pieces starts to erase those negative childhood experiences. So like, this is what Rebound is doing for people. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, so we teach through outdoor adventure therapy. I'm pretty sure we're the only place in the country that does it like this. We're not
Mm,
talking about outdoor adventure therapy, Dr. Harrison, where you go maybe to the beach once a week. We talk about 7 days a week We're doing
Mm.
everything from skydiving, indoor and outdoor, flying airplanes. I fly planes. So we're scuba diving. You can get scuba diving certified. We're parasailing. We're horseback riding. We're
Wow.
wave running. We're hydroboarding, where you put on a pack and you're going above the ocean. We're doing all this stuff to take you out your comfort zone. But also,
Mm.
what you just said is bring back positive childhood memories.
Yes.
So one of the things we do it when we do this is it takes you out your comfort zone because you can be anybody when you're talking to a psychiatrist like yourself. When you come in, you sit on the couch, you only got an hour. But here, when we take
Mhm.
you up 13,000 feet and I'm flying the plane and I look over and says, jump, we really get a chance to see what you're all about, right? Because
Whew.
we're with our psychiatrists, and we're with our therapists, and we get to see a whole different side of you. But also,
Yeah.
it brings back your childhood memories of when you were having fun. It's okay to have fun
Mm.
because we want you to have fun when you get sober. So we're just training you
You
in the
need to
beginning.
have fun.
That's right. And it's much more fun because look, when what we're training you to do is you go on vacation. What happens now? You go out in the ocean for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. That first day is so much fun. And then you go out at night and you party. And then the next day you sleep in. And the next day it's too hot. And
Mhm.
then you don't even enjoy your vacation.
Mhm.
Here we're teaching you
Right.
how to live a healthy, holistic lifestyle and
Mm.
going to bed at 9 o'clock, which for me, 9 o'clock is the new midnight. Uh, is
I know
going to
that's
bed and
right. I love when I get to go to bed at 9 o'clock. That's a good night. Mm.
right, and so it's teaching you and training you to make sure that you'll be able to get up tomorrow and do it again. Also, you're having so much fun that you don't want to be hungover in the morning. And some of the stuff that this
Yes.
does is that, we get a chance that people come in and I like myself, I'm claustrophobic. So one of the big things when
Mm.
we take you down 60 feet in the ocean, people get claustrophobic
Mhm.
and they have to learn to breathe. So we do all these kind of activities, probably 19 different activities in 30 days that you have never done in your life that helps you.
Wow.
And we're not there to scare the bejesus out of you. We're there to really get to see what the core of what's really bothering you. Now, we
Mm.
do traditional treatment. We go to the gym. Of course, we go to AA. We have Bible
Mhm.
study here with a Hall of Fame running back who
Mm.
does a great job for us every Wednesday. We're very faith based. But we meet you where you're at because we're a small program.
Yeah.
We only take 5 people in every month. And 5 being a basketball team,
Okay,
I can handle
wow.
that. Yeah, because everybody has a different, right? Everybody has a different narrative,
Yeah.
So if you come in and
Yeah.
you try to cookie cutter something, and I'm not saying, look, it's very difficult because there's such an epidemic to just deal with only 5 people. We've been blessed to do that because there's so many people with addiction. 120,000 people died last year from this addiction.
I know. I
So
know.
the more people that can come in and get help at any level, I'm happy for. We just been blessed that we have a small group, and that is the way I've made it. Because when I went to treatment, um, I was just going from class to class, and I once asked the
Mhm.
guy in there, "Say, hey, can I get a volleyball?" And he gave me a volleyball, and then he gave me a basketball, and he gave me a softball, and it changed the culture of where we were.
Mm.
It really did.
Mhm.
People was like, "Oh, I'm having fun," because when you feel like you have
Yep.
done so much damage in your life that you're not allowed to smile anymore. And look, from my past, I feel sometimes, I shouldn't be having fun, and I should be serving my community at all times. But I'm just slowly but learning, putting myself back together. Rebound's been going for 8 years, and every day I learn something.
Mm.
Um, I'm big on no stethoscope really gets you better. What it really does get you better is what
Yeah.
you guys do at your place. It is the relationships, it's the
Mhm.
empathy, it's the accountability, and it's the
Mhm.
structure.
Mhm.
We keep you out all day long.
Yes.
You leave the house, the ranch. We're on the ranch, 6-acre ranch. Once you leave the ranch, you're gone all day. You're on the beach, you're in the water,
Mm.
you're at the gym. And when you get back, what that does cure for, number one, is that your sleep deprivation. Because most people say, I can't sleep, and why you can't sleep is because you're in your own head. You're in your own head. And that's the biggest jail that I've ever been in, is the one that's in my head. So if we get you out all
Yeah.
day long and we're deflecting and we're doing this, and the other thing is, doctor, is that we eat all our meals out. So we don't put you in a bubble where you're
Mm,
going to be in a bubble and then 30 days later we're going to cut you loose and then you go to the airport and you
right.
smell beer because your flight's delayed and you don't know how to process it.
Right.
You know, so we
Right.
process it because everywhere
Yes.
you go with alcohol, I can't even believe, now that I'm sober, you can see how many places
You
serve
can see
alcohol. You
it.
go to the movie theater, like the movies with alcohol, everywhere you go.
Right.
So
With
you
your
have to
kids.
process those things.
Yes. Yes, I love this so much. So, okay,
Yeah,
it's as if you already read the whole book. I'm gonna pull a
yeah,
couple of threads that you put here. One is like we're teaching people how to have these conversations, and one of the exercises in the book is like choose one thing you love to eat and decide not to eat it, and then just walk through the day and see how many times that is on your radar. To this
wow,
point you just made, like, you can't drive down the street and not see a beer billboard. You can't go to the
right,
grocery store to get some hamburger meat and not walk down the liquor aisle. You can't go to the movies and not see beer on the menu. You can't go to the airport, right? And so that's one of the things. But I want to really pull this thread, Jayson. You said people feel like because of the damage that has been done when they were in their active addiction that they shouldn't have fun. You should just always be giving back to your community. And I know you're in the traditions of the 12 steps, so you know the shoulds. The shoulds are the biggest jail, exactly like you just
mm-hmm,
said. I would say you owe it to your community to have fun because that fun is actually feeding your sobriety, and your sobriety is feeding your ability to give back to the community. Because we are biologically wired as humans, we need joy, we need meaning, we need purpose, or we wither and die. And we don't want people withering and dying. That's not what sobriety, that's not what recovery is, right? Recovery has
right.
to be about joy and fun. So Jayson, tell me, one of the ideas in the book also is there are an infinite number of paths to addiction. And so there have to be an infinite number of paths to recovery. And just like you were saying, you went to treatment, it was kind of like a cookie cutter program for everybody was doing the same thing. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And this is what we're trying to do different at Eleanor Health also, right? It's like come in, learn about your path, learn about you, and then craft an individualized support program. Can you tell us about your journey in addiction as much as you're willing and able to share, and your journey to recovery? Like you're working a formula right now that works for you. How did you learn what this formula is?
Well, first of all, I'm a high energy guy.
Mhm.
And one of my deepest fears was about getting sober, Dr. Harrison, was that once you get sober, how are you going to have fun? You just,
Mhm.
it's some meetings you can go to and it's so dismal. In the morning, you're sitting here and listening to all these problems. You go, oh, I don't want to be that guy. And then sometimes we have people that come into the program, come to Rebound, and then they call up their loved ones and they go, man, I had a great time today. And then their loved ones will call us back and speak to our doctors and go, are you guys really helping him or is he just down there having fun? And I
Mm.
go, it's okay for him to have fun. That's what we want. We wanted him to understand that look
Right.
how much fun they are having while they're sober, right?
Right.
They didn't have this much fun when they were drinking.
Uh-huh.
So let us work on that. So for me,
Yeah.
some of the biggest issues that I ran into in my sobriety was when I isolate. See, isolation is no
Mhm.
good. Solitude is okay. So what I did was I got mad. I got and we call it the epics, to everybody, the resentments on page
Yeah, yeah,
64 in the
yeah.
big book, and you go in and you be like, hey, the heck with this person's never going to help me in this.
Mhm.
And then I went up and I bought a cabin in the middle of the woods, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to live by myself. And I thought it was good. And this is before I stopped drinking. And I started to have my caretaker bringing me dandelion wine and moonshine. And I was just drinking it. And before I
Mm.
knew it, it was like red rum, red rum. I was like the guy from The Shining,
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson. So I was just like, so isolation was actually driving me nuts, driving me crazy,
Mhm.
as much as the
Mhm.
alcohol was. So what we do here at Rebound is a lot of other places will, and look, I'm not, all the other places are very good. Anybody to be in this field is a very difficult field, so I applaud everyone doing it.
Absolutely.
That especially the people that are
Yep.
doing it right
Agree.
to take it on. So our alumni, we have this. We have 338 different alumni. We have this Marco Polo app where every day somebody has. It is different groups. Some might have 25 in a group. Some might have 5. Some might have 30. So every day
Uh-huh.
we have word of the day. Today's word was
Uh-huh.
courageous. So everybody has to get
Mm.
on and talk about inside of 1 minute what that word meant to them. And then we get a chance, just like I'm looking at you, Dr. Harrison, to see what you look like. If you had on sunglasses
Mm.
right now and it was nighttime, they would all, like, it's the Oxford modality, it's run by the alumni, but it's professionally managed by us. And they would
Okay.
say, hey, you know what? Derek had on sunglasses today and it was
Mm-hmm.
nighttime. We better check on
What's
him.
up with that?
So
Uh-huh.
we get a chance to really, and we get a chance to G check you too. So we can look over and go, hey, you know what? If you're really at work, let me see your boss. Move the camera around.
Mm.
Let me see where you're
Mm.
at. So, it's about accountability. And for me, I love peace. The peace that I get from sobriety, the peace that helps me out most in my life is when people can depend on me. That's what gives me
Mm.
peace. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I try to, I'm a warning or an example to people when they come down here. But I'm all over them. I'm here 7 days a week. This is the best time and the best life I'm ever living in my life
Mm.
is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I get a chance every day. Look, I'm not a psychiatrist like yourself. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy who, when they go to group, I might sit in if they want me to. But most of the time, I'm working on the ranch. I'm feeding animals. I'm pruning trees. I'm cutting grass just to keep it, you know, and to keep my sanity and keep the place looking good. But I'm the guy with outdoor adventure therapy. I'm the guy who's telling you the stories that what
Yeah.
happened to me, and I don't want this to happen to you. Because we
Yeah.
also work with the prevention, right? We throw basketball camps that are disguised as basketball camps with
Uh-huh.
Charles Oakley, the NBA great. Um, and we teach etiquette, grooming, rebounding, shooting, how to deal with authority. You
This
get it?
is for
So we go
kids.
to
This
different
is for
spaces.
kids.
This is for children because
Uh-huh.
it's never too young to start talking about, alcohol and marijuana. People call up the
100%.
call rebound all the time and they tell us, well, my child is just smoking marijuana and that's not bad because marijuana is legal now. And I go, yes, it is legal, but so is alcohol.
So is
So is
alcohol. So is
prescription pills. But if you
cigarettes.
misuse
So are
any of
prescription
these, you're in
pills.
trouble.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I love that. I have a very strong family history of addiction. So on my mom's side, mostly cocaine and alcohol. On my dad's side, alcohol as well. And so one of the things, that people don't recognize is how much of your risk for addiction is coded in your DNA the day that you're born. And so to your point, it's never too young to start having the conversation. My kids were 3 years old and I'm having the conversation with them, right? And it's like 3 years old, 4 years old. And then the book, we actually teach you how to have this conversation at the different age points. But my messaging to the kids was like, listen, just like diabetes runs in families, just like cancer runs in families, addiction runs in families. So, like, your friend might be able to do a line of cocaine in the bathroom and be fine. Our DNA, a line of cocaine in the bathroom turns into a whole different thing. So, like, here's how you keep yourself safe, right? And so, your basketball camps that you're doing for these younger kids, not only teaching them kind of like healthy decision making, giving them meaning and joy and connection and fun, which is so important. Like, our young people and teenagers are going through so much very early in life. They already have those adverse childhood experiences. You are helping to reduce their risk of addiction.
Yes. And to bring up a point when you were talking about your grandparents and your parents,
Hmm.
um, and your mom with her addiction,
Oh,
I
well, my
go and
mom's family, not my
your
mom, but
mom's
her
family,
brothers and
not your
sisters.
mom,
Yeah,
excuse me, your
brothers and
mom's
sisters.
family.
Hmm.
I go, some of the joys that this passion, I don't call it a job, it's a passion. I,
Yeah.
I don't make any money in this business, but it sure does keep me out of trouble. And I
Mm.
love, my service to others is the rent I pay here on earth now.
Hmm.
Muhammad
I love
Ali
that.
told me that a long time
I
ago.
love
But,
that.
So when I go to speak at African American churches and I start talking about addiction, how far back are we as a race that we really don't know about treatment and addiction? It's like, what? So I start telling them it's okay. This is a disease.
Yeah.
Just like if you had cancer, unfortunately, if you had cancer, you have to get chemo. And if you
Yeah.
have an addiction and then you're misusing drugs or alcohol, you have to get treatment. But
Yeah.
as African Americans, we at times, especially the older generation, like my grandmother and maybe my
Mhm.
dad, would say something to the effect that they'd rather you go to jail than go to treatment, because if you went to jail, that means you just had a bad night. But if you
Mm.
went to treatment, that means, or you were on drugs, that might mean
Mm.
that was the way you was raised.
Oh,
And it
right.
doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't
Right.
that my parents raised me in any way. My parents were loving parents, great parents,
Mhm.
hardworking parents.
Mhm.
My dad's my best friend. My mom was
Mhm.
my best friend. I loved
Mhm.
them, but they didn't. They couldn't have done a better job than me. But like you said, your DNA, whatever it was, I had an addiction.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean the way my parents raised. So parents get beat themselves up. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I have a kid who's a TV star right now, and he's on his way from Hollywood to get here, and his parents are saying, "Oh well, his blood pressure is a little elevated. I don't know if I want to throw him on a plane. I don't know if I want people to see him like this walking through the airport." And they're making all these excuses. I'm like, do you
Yeah.
want your son to live?
To live.
Are you worried about what somebody gonna take a picture and he got on sunglasses or he's stumbling? You get his behind on a plane, you get him
That's
down
right.
here, and we start to get him better. The heck what other people think about him
That's
right
right.
now. And that's the
That's right.
stigma, right? It goes with the
Yeah.
family, you
Yeah.
know?
That's the
And then
stigma,
what
and
we
it's
also
deadly.
do, right, is Daddy Doc. And the other thing we do is that we have to get the family members to understand, and hopefully they get better also. Because look, if one person starts getting better, and then you go home and that other sibling or that other spouse is still drinking or drugging,
That's right.
then that other spouse, of course, is going to feel neglected, but also going
Mhm.
to feel shamed. It's
Mhm.
like back in the day, my dad used to tell me, he said, Jay, you see little Bo Peep, his wife going to the gym. And I said, Dad, what does that mean? He goes, she about to leave him. you
Oh,
know, so so when you start getting better, you have to get the whole family and everyone better at the same time,
that's right.
and let them understand it. So we're big on big family therapy and preparing them when they leave us to get back into their family society also.
I love it because it's similar to something you said earlier, right? Like everything
Right.
we're talking about is connection, support system. We are pack animals, right? And so when we look at it, I kind of divided into your childhood and your adulthood, the 6 conversations. And the 6 conversations are like, what is your genetic risk, right? Biological, you're born with it. What is your childhood risk? You were born into that psychologically. What is your environmental childhood risk? You were born into that, right? And so that's part of what you're talking about, like the stigma that we grow up with, like you cannot be a person with addiction or somehow you have no value, which is killing people. And then in adulthood, the same thing, like, okay, biologically being a pro ball player and the injuries and chronic physical pain that comes with that. Flying all over the place and the changes that makes in your brain and not being able to sleep. The culture of being a pro and the parties and the clubs and all this stuff that we see on TV, right? Those same 3 buckets. When you're an adult, across all of those is the fact we are pack animals. And so the
Right.
pack that you run with matters. And I feel like what I'm hearing you're doing as part of Rebound and as part of the basketball camps that you're doing for the young people is really giving them a pack that validates their value without substances, validates their value no matter what life experiences they're having, gives them a sense of connection and purpose that they can lean back on. And we have to teach that to the rest of their pack that they were born into, right?
100%, Dr. Harrison. One of the things I've learned in the last 8 years is what kind of friends do I have?
Mhm.
And just because I know you 35, 40 years, I still love you. But sometimes those friends that are still partying and drinking, I have to feed them with a long handled spoon.
Mhm.
I got to be of distance. So I have breakfast friends, I have lunch friends, and I have dinner friends.
Mm.
Breakfast friends means that these guys that know me my whole life, they go, Jay, I'm coming down to Florida and I'm going to do what you do in this program. And then, we're going to hang out and whatever. All right, come on down. But you're going to have to do what we do. So it's time we get to the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning, they're worn out. But then they go, oh, what are we going to do today? We're jumping out of the airplane. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go to Miami and I'll come back tonight, and then you don't have to see them anymore because I've changed the way I'm living, right? So you
Yep.
have breakfast friends where you're not sure about them and they're not gonna pull out a drink order probably at 8 o'clock in the morning. They might, but
Right.
there's much more unlikely. And then you have lunch friends who you kind of know a little better, and then you know
Mhm.
that they understand. But dinner friends are somebody who really do understand the disease
Mhm.
I have. And
Mhm.
so that's the pack I gotta run with. The dinner friends I really do trust. You
Mm.
know, the lunch friends, the breakfast friends, I definitely don't trust you. So if I'm having breakfast with you, it's like, hey man, anything can go off right now. And
Right.
I know at 9 o'clock in the morning, me and you're not gonna be driving down the highway drunk,
Yeah.
you know?
You didn't even say brunch. You didn't
No,
even give them the midday.
because you know what happens at brunch.
I love that so much. Okay, can I steal it? I definitely
you
wanna
can have it. It's
I
all yours.
love it. I
Yep,
love it. Breakfast friends, and it's so funny because our ties are deepest to the people from our childhood many times, and many times we need to grow into breakfast relationships with our childhood friends, right?
that's right.
And even some of our family members, we have to grow into breakfast relationships.
It's 100%. Look what family reunions do to
Woo.
you. You know it when your cousin comes. Hey, cuz, I got to speak to you a little bit around here. After the,
Mhm.
it's so much pressure for people like yourself and I who've highly educated. And I'm not saying that my family, because my family is very highly educated, but then you have the other group that pretty much want to make you feel guilty for being
Mm.
successful.
Mm.
um, that want something from you at all times. See, I believe friendship should be not cutting into you like an angle. It should bounce off of you, where we're both helping each other.
Mhm.
And I think that's what sobriety is all about. I think that's what Rebound is all about. I think
Mhm.
y'all are doing a great job with that. I was so happy when I was doing my research on you when you were talking about relationships, because relationships is so important in
Yes.
staying sober.
Yes.
So
Yes.
important. People, you can't isolate. And every once in a while, you need to take some time to yourself. That's cool. But relationships and who you surround yourself with, we say it all the time. Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a word, especially for young folks. That's a word. I love this visual you just gave us of like your friendships bouncing off rather than cutting into you, because you also like sometimes you have to look at yourself and say, if I am somebody's future, right? Like show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If I am somebody's future, is this the future I want to be for somebody? And
Exactly.
sometimes the answer to that is no, right? Like I'm not contributing anything to this person's future that I would want in my own future.
And Dr. Harrison, I know you're better at this than I am. I've been a yes guy my whole life. People ask me to do something, I'll be like, yes, especially when they say, oh, it's 6 months away. Oh, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. And then 6 months comes on and you got all this pressure because you got a lot going on.
Mhm.
So being able to say no goes a long
Yes.
way in your sobriety. Setting
Yes.
boundaries, right? No, I can't do that. No, I'm not going to have time. Why? One of the greatest things about working on your sobriety every day is that you can now nitpick things and cherry pick things that you don't want to go to. Like
Uh-huh.
people ask me all the time, can you come to my wedding? I go, are you gonna have alcohol there?
That's
uh,
great.
I'm not feeling pretty strong these days. So, it gets you out a lot of things. Anything that starts past 6:30 at night, you don't have to go to. I'm
Mhm.
in bed by 9 o'clock.
Mhm.
Nothing good happens after 11:30.
Mhm.
I got into a little fender bender at 3:54 p.m. So right, in the afternoon, and it was fine. But
Mhm.
imagine getting into that at 2:54 in the
In the
morning.
morning, right.
You
A
know,
whole
so
different
I've
set of
I've noticed,
circumstances.
doctor, that most of the times I get in trouble are the early mornings of the night of the morning. So what
Yep.
do I do now? I eliminated that. So no more early mornings. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Come 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm going to the gym while other people are coming in, and I feel good about that. And I almost feel sorry for those people that, especially people my age, that are still going through it, because that yucky taste that you get in your mouth,
Mhm.
in the morning time and not having
Mhm.
energy. And I know going through a lot of things in my life when I did not have energy, um, I would just run from them and then hope they will go away on their own.
Mhm.
But once you get energy and you put that with some sobriety, and you surround yourself with good people, you can overcome and stop running. Because the first thing as an addict we want to do, an alcoholic as myself, is we want to run.
Mhm.
We want to run from things. And one of the things at a Rebound at our place, we've had the same people for going on 8 years. And you know
Wow.
how hard that is in
To keep
addiction
people.
at centers to keep the same people. Because people know we're doing it right. We love each other. Even on our day off, on Sundays when they come, we all barbecue and we're all a part of each other's family. You can't do any staff splitting. You can't say, hey, Dr. Demner said this, or Mark said this, or this
Uh-huh.
person said that, because we're so small and we've been doing this for so long. We know you're
Mhm.
trying to deflect, you
Yeah.
know? And we
That's
really
the
want,
testament to
right,
connection. That's
right.
the
And
testament
we
to
want
connection.
people to get better, because every time somebody gets better, I add a new healthy friend, a new healthy family member. You know,
Yeah.
you can't pick. Well, how does it go? You can't pick your family, right?
Uh-huh.
But you can pick your friends.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
all about now. I love when people not graduate, when they transition from Rebound and back into society, because now I have a whole new fresh face to keep me
Mhm.
accountable.
Mhm. You know, I could hear the magic sauce in Rebound. First of all, it's just like pouring out of you the passion. What do I want to call it? Like passionate compassion, right? Like you care so deeply. And I think that is one of the stigmas that kills people with addiction is like we make them feel they are not worthy to be loved, they're not worthy to be cared for, they're not worthy to be valued. And I think probably day one, people coming into Rebound, if they feel from you in person what I'm feeling from you over this podcast, which is just like a deep, genuine, authentic caring for them as a human being, I think that's the first secret sauce that sets off the rest of the path. Would you agree?
Yes, and nobody comes into Rebound even after they go through admissions. Most of the time, you're going to speak to me. If you call Rebound, we're so small, you probably get me, you know? But you would definitely speak to me before you get on the plane, because I want to
Mm,
make sure that you really coming for the main reason. And the main reason
mhm,
is to get better.
mhm.
If you tell me, Jayson, I want to get better, I'm saying, come on down.
Let's go.
Because like I said, I want to extend my family members. I want to be able to hang out with you, because now we're on the same page. We got something in common. And we're
Yeah.
going to be keeping each other accountable. So at the very end, like after the doctors and the intake and everybody speaks to them, they already know after 8 years, Jay, all right, it's time for you to speak to them. And I go, hey, do you
Mm,
really want to get better? Because you're going to be a part of our family forever. And
mhm.
we want to make sure that you're a good person and you're going to act like a good person. And look, you're going to have peaks and valleys, but we're going to be there for you, because to be honest, I have peaks and valleys. We all have
Yeah.
peaks and valleys. Some days, you just, oh man, I got to get up today to go do this. But and I need somebody, or some days when somebody's not doing well, I should say, I get down on myself,
Mhm.
because like an athlete, you always want to win. And
Right.
and 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 then I need somebody to call me up and go, hey Jay, turn on Marco Polo. And today's Rodney's 5th anniversary of being sober. And then all right, here we go. We're back at it,
Uh-huh.
So, you know,
Uh-huh.
just extending the family and there's nothing better, as you know, doctor, is when the light goes off on people. When you see that
Yes.
light goes off and they get it and they're saying, hey, sobriety is cool, sick. I'm no longer being sick. I'm being
Yep.
SIC sick. When I'm
Yep.
getting better, sobriety is being cool and we're all doing the same thing and having fun and living your best life. That's what keeps us going.
I love it. And you know what I love too, Jayson? And okay, this is your 3-minute heads up that the final question is coming. What you want us to unlearn, undo, or uncover, okay?
Okay.
But what I want to say while you're thinking about that is what I am loving, and it is relatively new, is how much the public media is celebrating sobriety and recovery. And even people who are still struggling with addiction are like, I'm struggling and I'm trying to get better. I think putting it out there, having you tell your story, having you run Rebound, having other people, like, we love celebrities in this country. We just do, right? Like, we love famous people. And when I was growing up, what famous was drinking and drugging and clubbing. Like, that's what famous got you. And so it made all of us want it. And now I see a real change where, like, and being sober is sick too, right? Like, being a celebrity who's living the high life without being high is really becoming a thing, and I think it's really powerful.
My whole life, I remember at 6 years old, I was going to see my Aunt Pat in California, and I
Mhm.
saved up for 3 weeks and I bought me a pair of dollar sunglasses. And I got off the plane in LA because I just thought that's where all the movie stars live. And
Uh-huh.
I had them glasses on, and my aunt looked over at me and she go, "Take them glasses off. It's nighttime. They're gonna think you're a junkie." And I'm
Oh,
6 years old. I'm like,
6.
all right.
See?
But my whole life, Dr. Harrison, from then on, I always wanted to be famous. And I
Yeah.
wanted to be the best that I can be in what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And that was maybe rebounding or playing basketball or doing what I'm doing. But my whole life, I wanted to wear those dark glasses so people can
Yeah.
recognize me. Now I'm so comfortable with myself and where
Uh-huh.
I'm at in my life that I pretty much wear those dark glasses now because I don't want people to recognize me because I'm
Mm.
happy with what I'm doing right now. So
Mhm.
two different ways, I
2
wanted to be a
different
movie
ways.
star with the sunglasses on. Now I'm just like, hey, I'm living my best life. And
Yeah.
if you never call my name out in public again, I'm okay
Yeah.
because I have all the alumni in Rebound. I have a bunch of good people around me. God keeps putting people in my life through the grace of God to help them get better. And
Mm.
that's where my energy comes from. And that's my accolades.
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so let's roll into the last question, which I gave you the heads up on. We're gonna ask everybody. No stress, no pressure. There are only amazing answers here, Jayson.
Okay.
Um, if there's one thing, thinking about your journey all the way from the beginning to where you are today, if there's one thing you want people to either unlearn about addiction or a piece of the stigma of addiction you want to undo or a conversation you want to uncover that we should be having, what words of wisdom do you want to leave us with?
I remember probably about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe a little longer, addiction and getting better, sobriety and recovery was sexy in politics.
Mm,
Um, and I think a lot of that was coming from people used to always think it was brown and black people that had addiction problems.
yeah.
But I think once I hate to say overprescribed drugs started hitting,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a drug dealer on the corner giving, it was
Mm-hmm.
just overprescribing people. And then you had a whole different race of people start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other people started waking up and it became much more attention. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said before, still there's not enough African Americans going to recovery, going into treatment,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm pretty much they just aren't educated about it.
Yeah.
They don't know about it. I didn't know about it until I got there. And that was
Yeah.
8 years ago. So that's one. The other thing would be, Doc, is that to release the stigma.
Yes.
It's so many high profile people that come through our program, so many people I run into, and they say, hey, Jay, I'd rather not have people know I was here. And that's your choice. Okay, nobody would ever know you were here. But if we understand that probably 80 million people suffer from this,
Mm-hmm.
addiction in this country alone,
Mm-hmm.
you can't pivot in your family without somebody having it if you don't have it. So don't be hypocritical around it. People just say, suck it up and, you'll be fine and, sleep it off. And those are the kind of things, not knowing that we got to get to the core of the trauma. We got to get to the core of what's going on because it is mental illness. If you put
Yeah.
something in your body that doesn't belong there, just to escape for something. That's
Yeah.
where the mental illness part comes into also, right? Because
Yep.
now we want to label everything. We want to label it. You got, OCD. People tell me, Jay, you have OCD because you're always trying to be perfect. You're always trying to be, no, I don't have OCD. I just like to make my bed up before I go to work because when I come back home, I want to be able to come back home and go, wow, this is clean.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to label every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I try to perfect is the opposite of good. I just try to give it my best. And that's not being perfect. I just
Mm-hmm.
try to give 110% every day. And then let the pieces fall where they may. I play hard, and then as hard as I play, hopefully, I made a basket or I was under the bucket and be able to get a tip in or maybe help my team in some kind of way. And it's the same here. If I'm at this program 15, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, hopefully some nuggets are going to fall off that I'm going to leave for the teammate that's in rebound or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. Because I
Mm-hmm.
learned so much from people coming in, and like lifting the stigma would be probably the number one thing,
Yeah.
the number one thing, because it keeps so many people out of getting better.
It's so true. It's so true. Number one, undo the stigma.
Yep. Yep.
I love it. All right. So this was amazing. Thank you
Yep.
so much. You are so fun and so like your energy is just so warm. I love it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Harrison. And you're doing great work at Illinois. And y'all just opened up in Cherry Hill. When I played with the
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers with Charles Barkley, I used to live in Cherry Hill.
Stop
So
it.
I am so proud of y'all, and y'all are doing a great job.
Yes.
We got to work more together.
We do. We do. So let's definitely stay connected. I stay inviting myself to people's houses for dinner. So I would love
Okay.
to invite myself to the ranch.
Yes,
if,
please.
if my self invitation is welcome, we should definitely stay connected.
We definitely will. Bring your chaps and your cowboy boots because we definitely,
Hey,
your
I
cowgirl
might have
boots,
to buy
because
some
we're going to
chaps,
definitely
but
do
I
some
do have
riding.
some boots. I do have some boots. I'm ready. Even though I don't know, it's like Beyonce cowboy boots, so I might have to get some more functional ones. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like this episode, please check out my book, Unaddiction: 6 Mind-Changing Conversations That Could Save a Life. Available at Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, Union Square and Company, Amazon, and wherever books are sold. If you liked this episode, please share it with someone you think may need to hear it. Also, please subscribe to this podcast and leave a 5-star review. That helps us reach any and everyone who may be looking for support in the face of addiction.